Okay, let's get straight into it. World Trade Center. Please stay with me on this one. You won't have heard this anywhere else. World Trade Center website, history of the Twin Towers. It's quite a good great document. The history of the Twin Towers started from 1939 right through to our present day. Well, May 2006, this is when the article finishes, with the opening of Building 7, which was not hit by a plane and which came down, pancaked down after they demolition bombed the thing. They bombed it. So back in 1939 at the World's Fair in Flushing, New York, the World Trade Center Pavilion is dedicated to world peace through trade. World peace through trade. January 1960, David Rockafellar presents a plan for a World Trade Center along the East River of Manhattan. The Port of New York Authority is commissioned to study the plan. On March 10th of 1961, the year Obama was born, Port Authority issues a favorable report on the feasibility of developing a World Trade Center. So this was David Rockafellar's land, and I just love how it says this was the World Trade Center in New York City. The pavilion is dedicated to world peace through trade. Now, I'm going to show you in the King James Bible how this played out, because Lucifer, Satan, the devil, is a destroyer of things. He takes scripture, right, mocks it, copies it for his own glory. Where the glory was to God, Jesus Christ, in the Gospels, he takes the stories, some of the stories from the Gospel, perverts them to bring glory unto himself. So, Matthew 24 in the King James Bible reads, and I'll just find it, sorry. And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. The buildings of the temple, right? Now, the temple in this regard is like the World Trade Center Pavilion complex. Just continue with me. I know that sounds bizarre, but just continue with me. And Jesus said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of his coming and the end of the world? And Jesus says, straight off the bat, let no man take heed that no man deceive you. That was in their day, and it equally applies to today, even more so. Let no man deceive you. So if we see verbatim stories. Mark 13 says the same things. And he went out of the temple, and one of his disciples saith unto him, Master, see what manner of stones and buildings are here. Stones and buildings. The World Trade Center complex was 7+ buildings. 7 buildings, I think. Master, see what manner of stones and what buildings are here. And Jesus answering said unto him, Seest thou these great buildings? ? There shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And of course he was talking about the temple, the second and the last temple of Solomon, that has never been rebuilt and never will be rebuilt, because Jesus Christ, dying on the cross, said it is finished. And the one last atonement for sin, his blood sacrifice on the cross, is the end of the story. It is finished. No more blood sacrifice for the atonement of sins, except Jesus Christ and his atoning work on the cross. And I'll just finish with Luke 21 in regards to Scripture. Same story said 3 times over. Luke 21, and he looked up and saw the rich men casting their gifts unto the treasury, and he saw also a certain poor widow casting in her 2 mites. Casting in her two And he saw also a certain poor widow casting in thither her two mites. And he said, Of a truth I say unto you, that the poor widow hath cast in more than they all. For all these have of their abundance cast in unto the offerings of God, but she of her penury hath cast in all the living that she had. And as some spake of the temple, how it was adorned with goodly stones and gifts, he said, As for these things which ye beheld, the days will come in which there shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And again the question gets asked, and they asked him, saying, Master, but when shall these things be, and what sign will there be when these things shall come to pass? Now, the temple was also a place of money exchange, because Jesus Christ went into the temple and overthrew the treasury, overthrew the moneylenders' tables, and went wild, right? Because of you shall make a house of prayer, a house of thieves and robbers, or whatever he said in regards to commerce, buying and selling. He got very angry, okay? So we just learned that the World Trade Center, according to David Rockafellar, and even before that, in the 1930s, was dedicated to be a place of world trade and peace. And there are multiple buildings, just like there were multiple buildings regarding the temple and the surrounding buildings around the temple. Now, I've shown in the past that when you look up, and it's the same on that website I was just looking at on my phone at the start of this video, April 4th, 1973 is when the North Tower and the South Tower officially opened. And I'll write this in the blog underneath again. You can count the full number of his name to 9/11. They built those buildings with the purpose of them being torn down, to leave not one stone upon another, and destroy them utterly, to bring in world peace, their idea of world peace, and a new financial world order. Because the World Trade Center towers, North and South Tower, was the financial hub of the world, the financial trade center hub of the world. So see the similarities of the scriptures in Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 21, regarding the temple. And okay, also after 9/11, the Building 7 opened in 2006. Just bear with me for a second. May 2006, on May 23rd, building the newly constructed 7 World Trade Center building, the one that wasn't hit by a plane that came crashing down because they demolition bombed it, opened on May 23rd, 2006, the first building to be rebuilt in Lower Manhattan after the September 9/11 attacks, and that just happens to be 4 years, 8 months, and 13 days. 4/8/13 post 9/11. And then, of course, the World Trade Center building, which is the Freedom Tower, or the new One World Trade Center Tower, opened 4,800 days on the 3rd of November 2014 after 9/11. I was born on the 4th of the 8th. And then 2 days and 16 months later, the Oculus building opened. I'll write this all in the blog underneath. The Oculus is the eye of Horus on the $1 bill. This is what it's supposed to represent. It's an occultic theme. The all-seeing eye of Lucifer, Horus, Poseidon, Osiris, Apollo. They're all one and the same deity, aka Lucifer, Satan, the devil. A lot of information, I know, but this is how they take the Bible and distort it. And just the simple story of the destroying of the second temple before Christ gave himself up willingly as a sacrifice for all on the cross. And the temple being destroyed, never to be rebuilt again, the second temple in 70 AD. This is what's gone down with 9/11. 9/11 is definitely part of the Bible story in our reality. Thanks for listening.